24 degrees in here today, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like it outside. We have a little problem on the go, and I expect our fix is going to be coming today. Come over and have a look. First of all, let's look at our peppers and that. They're all growing very well, doing great. They're sort of hiding down here among the leaves. I do need to thin out the leaves here a little bit and adjust some of the trellises, but we're doing great with our peppers. And at first glance, it looks like our tomatoes are doing fantastic as well. But we have a problem arising with our tomatoes. You see a little bit of brown on the bottom there? That's blossom end rot. Saw another one here somewhere earlier. Right there. Blossom end rot is a lack of calcium in building the cell structure for the tomatoes. I found 2 of them over the weekend. There's one. This usually takes place on the bottom of the tomato first. And this is the other one. So I quickly removed these from the plant, and what I'm going to be using as my cure for this, or hopefully cure, is I'm going to be replacing the nutrients and doing a wash down of my root system. So I'm going to start off by pumping all of the nutrients out of my reservoir, which is down here in the bottom. We've got this little tray here. We can see that there is some algae growing here, and the bucket below probably has algae in it as well. So I'm going to take off the feed line, this one up here, which feeds the entire system, and pump everything out of there into a bucket. And then each of our containers, I'm going to see how much of a job I can do, I guess, of washing down the roots. When I look in through, I can see that the roots are quite dark. So I know there's lots of algae in there. And my guess is that one of 2 things, or it could be both things. Either the algae is taking nutrients such that the calcium is being used up the most, or the tomato formula which I have, which should be fine for all of these tomatoes, is not perfectly set for these tomatoes, in which case the tomatoes themselves are using up the calcium faster than the other nutrients in the mix. And therefore, over a period of time, and this has been several months now, the calcium has become depleted. So by removing all of the nutrients from the system, washing down my roots to get rid of as much algae as possible, and then replacing the nutrients in the system with fresh nutrients, which has the calcium level up to where it should be, I'm hoping to fix this problem before it gets any worse. So I'm going to get straightened away here and get my plan in place, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is pumping all the nutrients out of our reservoir. So I've got my hose disconnected. I'm just going to run it over here to the bucket, and I'm going to plug my pump directly in to bypass the timer. So here the nutrients are coming out of the bucket down below. I don't normally waste my nutrients. If I have to take them out of a system like this, they usually go to some of my trees out on the lawn. Okay, let me go dump that one, and I'll come back to get some more. All right, we're full again. So take that one out and dump. And let's go again. I have 5 little cedar trees out there that will surely benefit from this. No, okay, so we're running out of fluid there now. So our nutrient tank should be pretty close to empty. I'll get rid of that, and we'll put the next part of our plan into action. All right, so our little container here, which the fluid runs through, has a lot of algae in it. So I'm using a biodegradable all-purpose cleaner to help me get that off. There's going to be algae in every system that you have. It's really, really hard to totally avoid it. The thing you want to do, though, is not allow it to get to a point where it's taking too many nutrients from everything else. It's an organism that's going to take nutrients in that just like everything else we have in this world. But it's a balancing act. You may be able to have it out of your system initially when you start growing, but over time you will get algae build up. And I don't usually worry about it. If it's obvious, then I'll just try to wipe it away. But otherwise, it just lives in the system, and it's quite normal. I've compared my systems to a lot of other people, and there's a lot of systems that are literally green everywhere. So mine are not like that, but there is algae. Now, for those of you who are wondering what this is that I have here, I have my water that goes through my systems. They go in, it runs into these containers. I have another one for my peppers. That causes the float to rise. And I've got a little switch set up here on that float with a Wi-Fi transmitter. So what happens is right now I had an alert on my phone a few minutes ago indicating that the water is no longer running through this container. My float was no longer up. If that float in this system is down any more than about 23 minutes, which is the time between the water or nutrient going into my system and draining back out, any more than about 23 minutes, and I will get an alert, which will indicate to me that the system is no longer has wastewater coming out, and therefore I know that something's going wrong. Either I've run out of nutrient, or I have a leak of some kind. So that's the idea of this container, for those of you who are wondering. And the water just goes in this temporarily to raise the float and drains back out through the hole here to go into the main reservoir. I'm going to give this guy a little rinse here now. And then we're going to take it back in and see what our next step is. Okay, so I've disconnected the drain tube from this reservoir, and I can see the roots. I've moved a couple little covers away from my hatches here. or the net cup spots. So I'm going to basically put my hose in there now with fresh water, not too abrasive, just gentle, and I'm going to hose down the roots. See if I can get as much algae off them as possible. They don't look too bad. I would like to get my hand on them to clean them up a little bit more. I'm trying not to disturb them any more than I have to. And the roots, there's a lot of roots down in the water as well. And that's the good thing about this system is if the pump shuts down, there are a lot of roots down in the water. So we're going to let that one drain out. We're going to take a closer look now. Let's just have a peek down here. There we go. So we can see the roots. Down in the water, the roots look nice and healthy. There is a bit of green down there, but the water is certainly not covered in algae or anything. So we're going to let that water drain out. We're going to move on to the next one and do the same thing. By the time we're done, most of these containers will have just water or a very high concentration of water in them. And that should allow the fresh nutrients to have a balance of the nutrient components that are required. Just like before now, I'm going to poke the hose in here. Oops, nope, not yet, we're not. Not yet. Before we do that, we have to disconnect the drain hose here. We'll move it out to there. So you see this is the level of the nutrient in these buckets all the time, where that drain is. So we're hoping to replace most of that with just water at this point. This is what's running out. It's nutrient and water together. So let's flush that one out now. Okay, so having a little peek down inside there. Now this one has 2 plants in it, so we can see exactly how they're doing. And we can see the root system down in the bottom there. We're going to move on and do this with the other 4 containers, and then we'll come back. And we just finished draining the nutrients and water from our last bucket here. So we're going to put things back together. I'm going to take this here out for the trees. And I'm going to go mix up some nutrient to add back to the system. And then we'll start pumping again. Stop recording. Now let's get this reservoir filled up again. We can see that there are bubbles coming up down here where the reservoir was empty before. The air is coming out of the line and the nutrients will start going down. So that's probably enough nutrient for the main reservoir. I'm going to mix up another couple and add here as well, because this is going to go down dramatically as the other one fills back up. I don't want you to sting me. Okay, that one's full. That's draining down into the other one. Now, we need to get our system running again to get those fresh nutrients up through. We're going to check for leaks here now. We'll have a look down inside. See that the nutrients are getting to where they need to be. We see the nutrients trickling down. See it right there. Everything is looking good. Alright, so we have our nutrients all replaced. Looking good there. We had a couple small leaks that we had to deal with. Those problems have been resolved. Had a 3D printed fitting over here, which was actually rotted out with the sun. So I had to replace that one. So I'm just trimming a couple of the leaves here now that are down doing nothing for us. The leaves aren't producing any fruit, but they are required to help to pull the nutrients up through the plants. So I don't want to take too many off, especially those that are up above the tomatoes, because they're pulling nutrients right past where the tomatoes are. And that's where we want our nutrients, into the tomatoes. I prefer pinching these off, but it's not always that easy to do because they're actually pretty tough there now. As we snip some of these leaves, we're helping more nutrients to get to the tomatoes. We're also going to pick off a couple suckers as we're going. Some of these now, in another couple days, I'm going to be lowering these down again. So we'll be doing some adjustment of the trellises. Just looking for suckers in here right now, and not seeing any. I've picked them off usually each day as I come out here. But you can see now how the empty stock of these really doesn't do much, so we can lower those down and just let them hang like vines. We'll lower them another bit. Eventually they'll be down around here just hanging around, and it works great. I like this method. Well, that's a lot on the go here today in the greenhouse, and I'm going to finish up there because I'm just cooking. I'm literally cooking in here. What is our temperature? Oh, we're up to about 39. So I'm going to put this here out in the compost, and I think that's where we're going to leave it today. So you all have a good day. We'll see you next time here in the greenhouse.